Hello and welcome to Flat Cap Euro Talk. And in this episode, I'm going to be giving you my winners of the transfer market. That meaning I'm going to be giving you all the clubs in each of Europe's top five leagues who I think are going to be the winners of this transfer market that just finished here last summer. I'm going to go from the Premier League to Serie A, La Liga, Liga, and the Bundesliga as well. And I'm only picking one team as a winner from each league. And my first one, I'm going to start with the Premier League. It's going to be Crystal Palace here. A bit of an outside shout. I just kind of, it's probably kind of typical of me, I would say, to kind of go for maybe an outside shout that I probably wouldn't have as much confidence in. But let me know what you think of this Crystal Palace shout. They brought in the 21-year-old Chelsea Academy product Mark Guehi. It seems like Guehi seems to be a decent player. They paid £21 million for him. If you ask me, it's a bit overpriced. But hopefully he turns out into a good player, and then you might consider that to be probably plenty worth it. But Joachim Andersen coming in for £15.75 million. Odsonne Edouard, the 23-year-old from Celtic, coming in for £14.67 million. And then the 19-year-old Michael Elise from Reading, who's a very talented up-and-coming English player, for only £8.37 million, which is a real steal, you would say. Will Hughes coming in from Watford. Not really sure how much I rate that transfer, but I think again they're bringing in younger blood. Conor Gallagher as well on a loan transfer. The reason why I think Crystal Palace probably are the winners is just because they had a lot of work to do this summer in terms of their squad. They have probably the oldest squad. You might say probably squad average age from last season. I could be wrong on that, but honestly, the plenty of players in their team were absolutely ancient. The players they were able to successfully move on, I believe mostly for free transfers, were Andros Townsend, who was 30 years old, Patrick Van Aanholt, who was 30 years old, Mamadou Sakho, 31 years old, Gary Cahill, 35 years old, Scott Dan, 34 years old, Wayne Hennessy, 34 years old, and then McCarthy as well, 30 years old. He moved on to Celtic. Kind of think about that. It's just they did a whole regeneration of their squad. It's kind of a bit similar to Spurs in that they had to do a full rebuild. I wouldn't even say they're done with it, but they definitely did significant improvement on it. And I think a lot of people were very worried about where Crystal Palace would be at the end of this transfer window. And I think they actually shocked a lot of us. So I'm going to give them the winners just because I think they had a lot more work to do practically than almost any other club, really. So I'm going to give Crystal Palace the winners for the Premier League. But do let me know in the comments what you guys think about that. If there are any other Premier League clubs you think actually deserve it more. Inter Milan, I actually weirdly am including as a part of the winners bracket. I have them as the winners of the Serie A transfer market. It's a bit of an interesting one. Again, it's one that I'm not really too sure about, but it simply had to do with how much they needed the money, how much they needed the cash. Inter Milan, unfortunately, are owned by, I think it's a Chinese investment company or a Chinese conglomerate that doesn't seem to be putting too much cash or too much investment into the club or into the team. And so they're claiming to not really have the funds to be able to afford lots of players, or be able to afford the wages of lots of players. So that's why they had to move on, the likes of Antonio Conte, Romelu Lukaku, and Hakimi. But they were able to sell on Lukaku for £103.5 million, which I do think is a good deal for them. As much as it hurts to lose Lukaku, I do find that actually to be a decent deal, a decent cash for them. And as well, they moved on Hakimi for £54 million. That one, again, they probably could have sold him for less, so you could consider it, but it's just they did what they could. And, they had to sell on these players. I think it's really sad that they did. I definitely would condemn them for that, but with what they've done, they've definitely gotten decent coin for some of these players that they've sold on. Hakimi, right? They sold for $54 million, basically made all their money back from their original investment, and a little bit more. Matteo Politano, they moved on finally, who's been at Napoli and other clubs for £17 million, which I think is a fair deal as well, the 27-year-old. And then they brought in, some young players and kind of some mid 20-year-old kind of age players, and Zeno van Hoynsen from Jupiler League, from the Belgian Pro League. Don't know much about him, but they brought him in for £14.4 million, which think does show that, they must have a lot of faith in him as a player. He's 21 years old. Denzel Dumfries coming in from PSV Eindhoven for 11.25 million pounds in a three in the back system. In a Serie A system, I see him absolutely thriving. Joaquin Correa, they got on loan transfer, I believe, with an obligation to buy, if I'm not mistaken. Let me know if I'm wrong there. But I do really rate Joaquin Correa, the 27-year-old Argentinian who was previously at Lazio. Absolutely rate him, and I do think he would do quite well for Inter Milan. And then Hakan Çalhanoğlu on a free transfer, I think is also great business. You do kind of consider that he definitely has had a lot of success in the Serie A. But I think he's taken off on the ground running. Really, it's just he's taken the Serie A light this season so far for Inter. So I think on a free transfer, Çalhanoğlu, actually great business, and he's still only 27 when you do consider it. And then Edin Dzeko, the absolute legend, the Imperial, the legendary Edin Dzeko, 35 years old on a free transfer as well. You could consider that as a very cheap way of replacing Lukaku. In no way is he replacing anything Lukaku can do, but he is still bringing in that very intelligent movement, very powerful striker, of course. Knows how to hold up the ball well like Lukaku. So, it's just maybe a good alternative, you could say, for their books. And then keeping Lautaro Martinez. It's not as impressive, I would say, as keeping Harry Kane, but keeping Lautaro Martinez, I think, was definitely very impressive for them, very vital for them. So Joaquin Correa, Lautaro Martinez, Edin Dzeko, unbelievable. Çalhanoğlu, that's an unbelievable attack. And so I do think they actually did some great business there. So Serie A, my pick is Inter Milan, but do let me know. I'm going for a bit, some spicier picks here. So I'd be interested if you guys think differently on these. But moving on to Serie A with Atletico. I think it's a bit obvious one. There wasn't a lot of movement in the La Liga. Barcelona selling all their assets, selling all their players. Real Madrid bringing in Camavinga and David Alaba. That's about it. They saw some departures as well. So you do kind of think about it. It has to go to Atletico. With Atletico, I would say it's quite obvious. They brought in Rodrigo de Paul there for about 20. What is it? For 31.5 million pounds. And I think Rodrigo de Paul, right, one of the best, most creative midfielders in all of Europe's top 5 leagues last season, had a spectacular season, has finally lived up to his potential. So bringing him in for 31.5 million pounds, I think, was a fantastic move. Matheus Cunha for 27 million pounds, also a great move. I do really rate Matheus Cunha. He's only 22 years old, the Brazilian. He came from Hertha Berlin. He was originally at Leipzig, was trying to just get more game time, moved from Leipzig to Hertha, did great at Hertha, and is just an unbelievable just talent. He's very skillful on the ball. You might say kind of like a Berbatov kind of player, you would probably say, in terms of style. But yeah, very silky, very beautiful to watch, very tall as well, very long. Just love to watch him play. But yeah, he moved for 27 million pounds from Hertha Berlin. I think that's pretty decent business. Quite sad to see him only go for that much. Antoine Griezmann, and then also coming back on a loan fee, and I believe he's only going to be it's like an obligation to buy for something around 35 million pounds. I might be wrong there, but you just bring back 3 unbelievable talents in terms of improving the attack for Atletico. So the attack for Atletico now is very potent, you would say, with Rodrigo de Paul, Matheus Cunha, Griezmann, Joao Felix, Suarez, Lamar, Carrasco. It's an unbelievable team now, I would say. And actually replacing Sal with Rodrigo de Paul is actually a fantastic move, if you ask me. So I am going to give La Liga's winner of the transfer window to Atletico. So do let me know what you guys think of that. Bit of a spicy pick, I might say, but I think it's also probably quite obvious to some. But also the ones before that, just again, for Bundesliga, I did Leipzig. For Liga, I did PSG. And then for Premier League, I did Crystal Palace. Just a moment here, everybody. Moving on. RB Leipzig are going to be my Bundesliga pick here. RB Leipzig, I think, have done some fantastic business this past summer window. In Leipzig, you saw Andre Silva, who basically was Bundesliga's second best striker last season. He's 25 years old. He moved for 20.7 million pounds, which I just think is a fantastic deal. I mean, it's just cut in half of what I thought he probably would have gone for if it were a normal market or even this market when you think about it. The 19-year-old Croatian Josko Gvardiol, who moved from Dinamo Zagreb, moved there for 16.92 million pounds. Great business, if you ask me. He's supposed to be an up-and-coming talent as a center back. They're they're using him as the replacement for Dio Upamecano and Kineke, of course, who they both sold on for plenty of money. And they've also brought in Mohamed Simakan or Mohamed Samakan, who's from Ligue 1, who's a French center back. I think he's 21 years old for 13.5 million pounds. Fantastic business there. I mean, they just basically replaced, in a way, they might be replacing Upamecano and Konate for only about a little bit less than 31 million pounds, which is, I think, fantastic business. And they definitely are some of the center backs for the future. Huge talents. So I've been told. Elias Mariba, the Barcelona product, he's moved over there. Obviously, the 18-year-old center midfielder has moved over there for 14.4 million pounds. Angelino, I think, is now they finally paid all the installments, I believe, for Angelino, 16.2 million pounds there. And then as well, they brought in some American from Red Bull New York for 1.64 million pounds. 18 years old, must be a talent. Clark, I believe, is his surname. Brian Brobby from Ajax as well on a free transfer. Benjamin Henriks for 13.5 million pounds from Monaco. They just made a lot of very smart business, I think, and they brought in a lot of young talent, as Leipzig do, in a very clever way, and all for not very much coin. So do think they definitely had a fantastic window. And then, as I probably accidentally leaked before, the other one, which I do think is quite obvious, is PSG. Not a lot of movement in Ligue 1, maybe apart from some signings over at Nice, but PSG, I think, are the obvious winners over there. I don't think we go into it. I think if I were to say anything, just list out their 11. Donnarumma in goal. You have right back as Hakimi. Center backs, you can do Sergio Ramos and Marquinhos. Left back, Nuno Mendes. And Nuno Mendes right there, pictured there, was one of Sporting's most crucial players last season in terms of winning their Liga NOS title, which they hadn't won in some time, I would add. And then as well, in terms of the center mids, Idrissa Gay, Marco Verratti, and George Wijnaldum as well. And then obviously Messi, Neymar, Suarez. There's just no other way to go about it. It's just an unbelievable FIFA-like career mode 11. So those are my 5 winners of the transfer market. I am considering doing a 5 losers of each league as well, but do let me know if that is of interest to you guys. But that'll be all for now. Just a little Friday, transfer summary kind of video for you guys. Do let me know what you guys think of this one. I will be seeing you in the comments, for what you guys thought of these picks. So please put anything you thought about this video or any of my selections in the comments down below. I will be seeing you, as always, on the Irish Hotspur. Please like, subscribe, and I'll be catching you.